Hi, and welcome to the GNI live training on YouTube. Uh, we're here for a very exciting week because we're doing a full and complete week-long training. Um, and I want to really quickly introduce my colleague as well.
Hi,
This is
I'm
Maggie
Maggie
Farley.
Farley.
I want to say hi.
Hi, I'm Maggie Farley. I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C.
Great. And so I'd love to just go ahead and tell you more about what we have lined up for you this week. And then I'll bring Maggie back in. And so this is, again, a Google News Lab training. I am from Menlo Park, California. Maggie is on the East Coast in DC. And again, this is a really exciting week. So we're going to be doing training all week long. The Google News Initiative is our effort to build a stronger future for journalism. And we're really excited to be offering lots of different ways through our news initiative. So one way we offer resources to journalists all over the world is through elevating and strengthening quality journalism. And so we're doing that through trainings like this. And so where we once were going direct to your newsrooms, we have since pivoted to online training. And so it's really exciting to be able to gather folks on things like Hangouts and even YouTube Live to do wonderful trainings that help strengthen the quality of journalism. We're also evolving business models and driving sustainable growth. And you might notice this through things like our innovation challenges. There's one open now, and you will get the opportunity to apply for a significant grant to do things like build new technology. But we're also doing really powerful and amazing things for journalists and for other users of Google products. But we are empowering news organizations through building technology. And so you will be introduced to a number of ways that you can use Google products for reporting and storytelling. But we're also building things that we think journalists can use. And so Maggie will go ahead and introduce you to some of those tools today. So the News Initiative hosts free online training. You can go to g.co/news training. So whatever we don't cover today, we will cover through the rest of the week. But there's also so much more that you can get at the g.co/news training website. So these are really great tools and resources. And at this website, again, it's free. You'll be able to log in, do these small trainings. There's a bunch of different topics that we cover, including investigative journalism or data visualization and data journalism. And so it's a really exciting thing, and we really want you to stay with us this week at this time. And let me go ahead and show you the schedule. So each day this week, we will cover each one of these topics. And so today we're going to be talking about advanced search, but we also have verification, data journalism is coming up, and also environmental journalism. So we're going to have a really good time this week, and I'm really excited to bring on Maggie, who is here to introduce to us more about advanced search and investigative tools.
Hi.
Hi, Maggie.
Hi. Thanks, Michael. So thanks so much for joining us today. You can join us every day this week at this time, a skill a day. It's kind of like summer camp. Should be fun. We encourage you to ask your questions in the chat. Tell us where you're from. Tell us if you'd like to know more. And we will be putting up a link at the end to all of the tools that we talked about in today's training. So you'll be able to see that there in the link that we put up, but also in that g.co/news training website. You can go there and take the courses and look at anything that you missed or want to look at again at your own pace. Okay, so let's talk about advanced search and investigative tools. You probably all know how to search, but we're going to show some ways to make it a little bit quicker and more refined. We'll also show you how to find information in Google Trends and how to do searches for misinformation. And then we're going to show you Backlight, which is a great AI tool for processing massive amounts of documents. It's really great and powerful. So hang in there. Let's start with advanced search. So you've probably done 1,000 searches in the past week, but we're going to make you into searching power searchers by the end of this. Google search is great because it can not only answer your questions, but it can tell you all about what other people are asking about. You know, people are very honest with their computers, maybe even more honest than with their best friends or their doctors. And so Google has been a very powerful tool for a couple of decades now to answer those questions. And see, when it first started out, there used to be an exclamation point with Google because people were so excited that you could ask the World Wide Web questions and it would give you answers and tell you where to find it. And there used to just be a handful of links, and now there's thousands. So we're going to show you ways to make those answers more findable, or if you're a news organization that has answers and wants to be found, there is a Google structured data testing tool that will allow you to test your code and make sure that you're very findable. That's for the developers. For the mortals who are just searching for answers, there's a shortcut called Google Knowledge Graph that you've probably noticed in the past year. And these are the quick shortcut answers to the most asked questions about the most sought people. So mostly public figures, well-known places, and the information comes from authoritative sources across the internet, and it's vetted. If you are a well-known person, you may see a claim this knowledge graph little button at the bottom, and you can claim it and verify that the information is correct. And that is the Google Knowledge Graph, a nice little snapshot of a search. So Larry and Sergey the founders of Google wanted you to be able to find what you're looking for as quickly as possible. But it's not just any answer. Google has been working very hard to elevate authoritative content. So you know that what you're searching for isn't necessarily just the most popular, but the most authoritative. And this is very important in times of misinformation and disinformation, like now when we've got an election campaign going and all sorts of contradicting information about the coronavirus, or lots of rumors flying about protests. And so when you search, the very top things you'll see are news sources that are considered authoritative, a little knowledge graph snapshot. And in the case of coronavirus, authoritative medical sources, there's a whole thing that links to CDC and WHO information, top stories, a coronavirus tracking map, and local and national resources in your area. And another thing that the Google search algorithm has done in the last few months, it has improved for journalists. So it's elevating original reporting and also more local reporting. So as a journalist, you may see that in your search results. So let's say you're doing a search for puppy adoptions. There's all sorts of things that come up that you may not have noticed before. And I am just going to jump out and show you these little filters. Say you're looking for puppies, or maybe the Google Innovation Challenge. You've got a great idea to make journalism better. And so if you search for that, you'll see all of these filters here. Have you noticed these before? You can search by news articles about it. You can search by videos. There's a town hall that explains all of the qualifications if you want that grant to make your idea happen. Images, I don't think there's going to be anything on shopping and so on. But there's more. And there's also, when you're searching for things, you can look at this settings panel. You can turn on safe search if you've got kids in the house. And you can also search by, say we're doing news. You can search by timeliness. So all news or blogs. When do you want that news article from? You can go way back to the archives, or you can look in the past hour, and sorted by relevance. So these are nice little filters that are there on your Google search page that a lot of people just don't notice. There's another search tool that's really good for research that a lot of people don't know about it, and it's called the Public Data Explorer. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like on the page. This is nice because you can go through and say you wanted to find out about fertility rate versus life expectancy. And you've got a spreadsheet and you just can't parse through all the numbers. But you can go here and there's data from a number of international sources, the World Bank, IMF, census.gov, which is a really rich set of demographic data. But you can choose your source, you can choose your topic, and then you can choose your parameters very specifically. So say we want to see what happens with China and Cambodia with their life expectancy and birth rate. And the nice thing about Public Data Explorer is that you can see the trends and you can see the outliers, and you can play with the timeline. So you can see Cambodia going backwards there during the genocide. You can see China's birth rate sinking because of the one-child policy. And that may have been difficult to parse out of a spreadsheet, but this visualization you can play with. You can decide how you want to present it in a line chart, in a bar chart, in a world map, or the scatter plot, I think is the nicest presentation for this information. And when you decide which parameters you want, which presentation you want, then you can take this graph and use it. There's an embed code right here over here in this link in the right-hand side. So you can copy the HTML code to embed in your website, or you can paste a link in an email. So that is Public Data Explorer. There's another dedicated website that Google has for fact checking. And that's really important right now when there's so much misinformation around. So if you go to Fact Check Explorer, you can Google it, or you can go to this address and put in your claim that you're investigating. It will show you what other fact-checking sites have done. It's not a fact checker itself, it's an aggregator of fact checkers. So this example, we're looking at what the fact checks are about Boris Johnson in the UK. So that's a good first place to go when you want to see if anybody else has checked out that rumor that you're looking at. Later in the week, we're going to be doing a whole series on verification and examining and investigating misinformation. So tune in for that as well. We get really deep with forensic tools. It's a lot of fun. Here is one of the best tools for looking at misinformation or looking at the source of an image you might have found on social media, or maybe a reader emailed it to you and you just want to check out that image. It's called reverse image search. So say you got this image of a protester. You know, it could have been in the recent demonstrations, but this one says that it's from Hong Kong last summer, returning tear gas with a tennis racket. And you just want to check that out. It says it's from Reuters, but is it? What is wrong with this picture? Any ideas? So you can search this image and see whether it's been uploaded before by hovering over the image and doing a right click or on a MacBook Pro, a 2-finger click on your trackpad, and it will pop up this menu. And just go down to search Google for image. And it will show you all the other instances that this image, you can see it there, or images like it have popped up before. And you can click through and investigate it yourself. There may also be stories about this image that you can find that way. And it turns out that it was a Reuters photograph, but it was from 2016, and it was not in Hong Kong. It was from France, from a labor protest. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that a lot of these images can be recycled, especially in times of conflict or demonstrations. So that is one way to search to see if it has been used before. Okay, let's take a look at search refinements. These are little phrases or tools that you can add to your search to make sure that your search is just a little bit more precise and you get better results. This is an example of different kinds of search refinements. I'm going to go through this one where you can tell the search to ignore a term. You can search just a site. You can search for related sites and so on. We'll go through them one by one. But don't worry if you don't remember it right now, because on the Google search page, you've got a built-in cheat sheet. Nice. So on the search page, go down here to settings, click settings, and you'll get a pop-up menu, and turn on advanced search, and it will give you a template. And you can fill in the template, or it will tell you how to do it right there in the search box, like I'm about to show you now. So say you want to know how fast a Jaguar goes. And if you just search speed Jaguar speed, you'll probably get this. The animal, the fast, speedy Jaguar. But say, actually, I was thinking about the car. So you could just tell it to ignore animal or cat by putting a minus sign in front of the term that you want to ignore. So if you do Jaguar speed minus cat, you'll get the car. So that's the example of the ignore search refinement. You can also search just for specific sites. Say you want to know what the WHO is saying about antibody tests. You can limit it to that by putting site : WHO.int. And this is what you'll come up with. Antibody tests only, WHO results. You can also search sites. Say, this happens to me all the time. You see something when you're scrolling through your social media and you want to find it again, but you can't find that post. It's way down your scroll. So there was one I was trying to find on Instagram. It was Pepper, the warrior hedgehog, who did obstacle courses like American Warrior. So I just did site : Instagram.com, and then Pepper warrior hedgehog. And voila, it came up with the site. There's Pepper. And Pepper again in super slow-mo. So that's a way that you can search sites. Just site : You could do it also for a specific domain. So every country has its own domain. Say you just wanted to search .orgs for nonprofits, or .edu for universities. You can limit it to that kind of site. So let's go back to Boris Johnson in the UK. Let's just search sites that are British sites. And here we go. This just coming up with sites from the BBC and the Guardian, news about Boris Johnson announcing the birth of their son. You can also use advanced search to find lists on Twitter, and that can be a good way to do backgrounding, to find sources. Say you need to find some sources in the alt-right, or you want to hear what the conversations are about the alt-right. You can search Twitter for other people's lists about the alt-right. So you just do site : the site, twitter.com, And then slash, you can put any username here if you're looking for one user in particular. But I put an asterisk, which is a wild card. It means fill in the blank. I'll take any user that has a list of the alt-right. And then you can put any search term here. You can put, cat lovers or whatever you want. And then you can search other people's public lists on Twitter. So that's a nice way to find things. Twitter doesn't really have a good search function. There's TweetDeck, but this is another way to do it. You can also find related sites to what you're interested in. So say you're looking for a world cam, a live cam, because you just can't travel to Europe right now or anywhere outside of the country, but you'd like to do some armchair traveling. So you know about WorldCam, but you want to see what other kind of live cams are out there. So you can do a related : and put in a site you know and find sites that are like that. And look, there's live webcams all over the world. You can go on Safari in South Africa. You can go to Times Square and see if it's crowded. Anywhere you'd like to go. This site is especially useful for reporters, this search term. It's called cache. And what it does is it brings you to the last cached version of that website. So the Google search engine is constantly crawling the web and documenting different sites. And the more popular the site is, the more often it's documented. So for here, I'm using the example of cache:cdc.gov. And it will take you to the most recent version before the version you see that was saved, the most recently saved or cached website. So earlier this year, there was a controversy saying that the CDC had changed its website and it was no longer tracking state-by-state testing, which used to be collected at the CDC site. And so if you want to see what the earlier site looked like, you could do the cache : and then put in the URL of the site that you're looking for. Then you go down here to this downward arrow, click on it, and it will have the cached site. Click on that cached box, and it will take you to the old site. So this one, I looked on March 3rd. The earlier version was on February 29th, and indeed, they were counting tests by state, but they eliminated it. There was a lot of controversial theories and conspiracy theories about why. And one of the theories was, well, there are all sorts of conspiracy theories, but if you reported it out, if you actually did the investigation, you would find that that was the time that states finally had the capability to do their own testing, and they were not sending their tests to the CDC. And so the CDC let the states do their own test reporting and no longer aggregated it at that time on the CDC website. So it's a great way to compare earlier versions of the website with the current version. And if you want to go back even further than the last saved version, you can go to archive.org. And they call it the Internet Archive Wayback Machine. And this is really useful in reporting when someone you're reporting on has changed their website or deleted their website. And you can even find deleted tweets by searching Twitter. And so you go to archive.org and you type in the URL of the website that you're looking for, and it will give you this calendar. And you can click on the date in the calendar. It goes way back, literally, years to 1997. Or you can go back more recently. And this came into play recently when the Deputy Assistant of Health and Human Services was named, and he deleted all of his tweets. And so reporters were curious, why would he delete his tweets? So one enterprising reporter, Andrew Kaczynski, from the K-File, used the Wayback Machine and went back, put in his name, and looked at his previous tweets and found that some of his tweets could be considered controversial for a government official dealing with health and human services. So that's a useful tool for reporting. You can also search by file type, which is useful when you're looking for a document documents are often published in PDF or a spreadsheet, which would be file type XLS or CVS. So say you're looking for a secret document published by the CIA, and in the title you want it to say top secret or just secret. So you can combine these operators to refine your search even further and put in title colon. You can search for a document's title. I only want a publication, a file type colon PDF at site colon CIA.gov. And voila. Some things sometimes slip through. Here we've got brain warfare, Russia's secret weapon. In this case, most of these things tend to be declassified, but I have seen things slip through before. One time I got a FISA wiretapping warrant. So again, you can search by file type. Say you were looking for expenses. If you just search for expenses, you might get a generic search result like this. But if you search expenses file type colon CSV, comma separated value file, you would get only CSVs back. So that's a nice useful shortcut when you're looking for a particular kind of file. And if you're a data journalist who's only interested in data sets, lucky you, because there is a dedicated website just for dataset search. g.co/dataset search. And so you type in your search term, say COVID-19, we're still interested in that, and it will only give you data sets back or CSV files, TSV, XLSX, or it will give you sites that aggregate data sites. And this is nice because you can filter them by freshness or format, or whether they're free and free to use. So I think I'll pause there in case anything has come up about these search refinements. Maybe not like that. Okay, so if you've got questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and Michael will pop in and stop me if there's anything that people are really curious about. But let's move on to alerts. So instead of checking every day, you can create an alert and get your own little personalized newsletter in your email about what you have been looking for. And you can do it even with these complicated combined operator searches that you've been doing. You can do your own byline and find out if your story has been published in Timbuktu. There's all sorts of things. It's great for monitoring your beats, for covering a certain person, or, you know, just give it to your mom and tell her to search your byline. A lot of people have been talking about vote by mail these days. So you can look for vote by mail, for example. You can get it at most once a day. You can get it as it happens. You can get a digest once a week in whatever language and covering whichever region that you want. Okay, so that was search refinements. Advanced search, power searching. I hope you picked up a few tools there that you feel like you can use, make your searches a little bit faster. There's all sorts of other ways to search though, and one is to search for what other people are searching. And that's what Google Trends is good for. At g.co/trends, you can see, you can compare terms, you can make your own search comparisons. And I'll show you more about that in a second, but let's just take a look at searching through Google Trends and what that means. So here you can search up to 5 different terms and compare them. You can search by the web, by YouTube, by shopping even. If you're covering retail, that's a really great trick. You can also search by images. And it makes these graphs, and you can decide which region you want to search in, by any place in the world or by United States or even by state from the past 4 hours back years and in different categories. When you get the search that you're looking for and you want to share it, you can download the data. And later in our data visualization day this week, we're going to download the data and play with it and make different data visualizations from it. Very simple, but very powerful. You can get the embed code here and embed it on your website. And you can just simply share this graphic on social media. So it's your custom search, shareable, free, very easy. A couple things to remember about trends, though, is that these are not the absolute number of searches. They're indexed and normalized. So what we're really looking at is this is the most, 100 is the most that term has ever been searched. And we're basically looking at the acceleration of interest, a spike in interest relative to other times that term has been searched. And there is a great, there's a great explanation of how trends indexes and normalizes its searches if you just Google how are Google Trends calculated. We may even have a link for you. So you can also discover stories in real time. You can see what people have been searching for the last 24 hours, the last 4 hours, and you can make your own comparisons. Just wanted to show you, this was something I did comparing the interest in coronavirus versus protests. And you can see the moment when people were suddenly more curious or concerned about protests than about coronavirus. Excuse me. And so for certain sets of searches, Google makes the data available in Google Trends data store. You can see the search interest in Democratic candidates, coronavirus, top cities and trending searches by state, all sorts of goodies there. Okay, there are some other dedicated search sites. There's google.com/finance. So if you're tracking a certain company or a stock, this is a good place to find that information. You can put alerts in your alert box for that as well. And this is one of my favorite hidden dedicated sites. Shouldn't be a secret. Google.com/scholar. So you can search academic papers and court cases and precedents. And you can search by article. You can search by case law. You can refine it by state court, federal court. So if there's something you're interested in, say you want to see what courts have ruled about voting by mail in other states, federally or locally, you can search case law. You can also see what academics have written about voting by mail. Does it really advantage one party more than another? You can see what academics have found in studies. Okay, so those are all sorts of different ways to search for finance, for academic articles, to see what other people are searching and how to make your search more refined. Now I'm going to show you Backlight, which is the cutting edge of search right now. It's much more powerful than going through documents with a Control F. Command F. So Backlight is a tool developed by Google engineers that helps you process massive amounts of documents. Say you do a FOIA search and suddenly you get thousands of digital documents back. And you were smart, you asked for digital documents, not PDFs, and not on paper. So when you get those documents back, even if they came as PDFs, you can upload them into Backlight. And this is where you can apply to be part of the beta testing pool. goo.gle/getbacklight, and make sure that's all lowercase. and it will bring you to a form where you can apply to be part of this beta test. But it's great because, you know, PDFs are the bane of journalists everywhere who are trying to go through documents, but it will read the PDFs like text. It will read the text in images, which is really fantastic. I was doing a search the other day and it had a screenshot of a text, and in the text, someone sent an image of a passport. And so Backlight could read the name in the passport that was a screenshot of a text that was scanned into a document. So that's pretty deep level searching. It uses artificial information, machine learning, expansive entity search. It's a lot of fun to play with. The other great thing that just was added is audio files. So you can upload audio files from an interview or a press conference. You upload your MP3 and it will transcribe it for you. And the nice thing is it does it in sections with the audio at the top. So you can see a paragraph, and then to check it, you can play the audio just for that paragraph, and it divides it into sections. So you don't have to do all of that searching back and forth, rewinding, looking for the part in your recording. So this is what it looks like. It's a very simple interface. You upload your documents. You can upload them from your computer or from your Google Drive, and then it sorts them by people, organizations, and locations. And then you can combine your search terms again to make those searches smaller. So this is an example from the FBI's release of the JFK assassination records. And you can see that there's 30,000 documents here. And each of those documents may have several pages. So we're talking about tens of thousands of pages. So rather than parsing through that yourself, you get a little help. And it's in beta now, but some early users have used it in different ways. The Baltimore Sun used the Martin Luther King assassination files to see what the FBI had to say about Martin Luther King in Baltimore. And the Washington Post used it to fact check the Mueller hearings as they were happening. Maria Ressa at Rappler in the Philippines even used it to upload her handwritten notes, which came in handy. It could read her handwritten notes and transcribe them and make them searchable and show the connections between different documents in that collection, which is really useful if the government happens to raid your office and take away your computers and all you have left is your notebooks. And so that's how you would use Backlight. You can sign up again here at goo.gle/backlight. If you have questions about it, once you get approved and you would like us to walk you through, go ahead and email me, Maggie Farley, here at google.com. So that's Backlight. That's a really, really exciting tool. Great for investigative journalists or anyone who deals with a lot of documents. All right. Next up, I'm going to show you how to search a little bit on social media. And when something goes viral, how do you trace it back? So this is a tool from Indiana University called Hoaxy, and it helps search the spread of a tweet. And it shows you a timeline when the first tweet appeared or the first hashtag, and shows how it spread. And you can also tweet, share, embed, and export this information. But that's not the coolest part. This is the coolest part. It's animated. So you can, whoops, it's not animated right now. But if you go to the site and set up your search, it will show you the animation, starting with the node in the network where the information spread and how it spread, to whom, and whether those users show bot-like behavior or whether they're human-like. So that's a very useful tool, Hoaxy by Indiana University. So those are a lot of new tools. I know it's like drinking out of a fire hose. We go so quickly, but do check out our links. Do check out the news training website. Email us with any questions at newslabsupport@google.com. And we also provide training on Google Hangouts to individual newsrooms or groups of journalists when you're trying to work on a project or want to know more about a tool. You can also go to our training website, g.co/news training. You can see all the videos and screen recordings of trainings that we've done before in more than 10 languages. If you speak Spanish and rather hear in Spanish first, that's there. Japanese, got that too. And it's nice because you can just go and look at those and go at your own pace and even get a certificate at the end if you go through a whole course. And if you want to take a screenshot of this image, this has some of the links on it right here. I'll leave that up for a second. And then if you have any more questions, please drop them in the chat and we will try to answer them.
Thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time to spend time with us today. It's really been great. Mac, you were delightful. You really went really deep into some of those tools to show journalists that might have already been familiar with some parts of the tool to really go deeper and figure out how to use and retool those for their own reporting and storytelling. So thanks for spending your time showing our audience how to really dig deeper and use these tools to their interests. And again, thank you all for joining us. I'd love to go ahead and drop my email in here as well. So if you have questions or if you want to book Maggie or me for a hangout training for your newsroom or small organization, we also train students. So that would be great. Feel free to email us. I'm dropping my email into the chat now.
And I'm mfarley@google.com. We're happy to do that, especially once you get access to Backlight. You might not remember all of the little tips and tricks, but we're happy to show you those.
Okay, great. So at this time, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks again for joining us, and thank you, Maggie.
Yes, maybe see you tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
That's right, all week long. Thank you.
Bye.